SSLC preparation video for the year 2021. So DDPI of Bangalore South has shared a Google Form quiz related to the chapter Control and Coordination. So let's look into the first question now. In which of the following does the reflex arc work? Option A, during clapping. Option B, when teacher asks the questions. Option C, when a hot object is touched accidentally. Or option D, when thirst. Yes, you guessed it right. It is when a hot object is touched accidentally. So reflex action is the extremely quick, automatic, involuntary, sudden action in response to something in the environment, that is, response to external stimulus. Reflex arc is the pathway of nerve involved in reflex action. So the reflex arc involves the receptors which receives the messages from the external environment. So it's the skin over here. So sensory neuron, it carries the messages from the receptor to the central nervous system. So in central nervous system, the spinal cord actually processes the messages and sends impulses to the concerned part of the body in the form of response. So motor neuron carries the message from the central nervous system to the effector. Effector, it's the muscle in the arm, responses against the stimulus. So you move your hand very quickly. So moving on to the second question. In this part, the information passes through chemical substances. Is it option A in nerve ending? Option B in dendrite? Option C in axon? Option D in synapse? Yes, you guessed it right. It's synapse. So synapse is the gap between nerve ending of one neuron and dendrites of another neuron. So at synapse, the electrical impulse is transferred in the form of chemicals. So from the nerve ending of the first neuron to the dendrite of the another neuron. So synapse ensures that nerve impulse travels only in one direction. So these are unidirectional. Moving on to the next question. So part of the brain that controls involuntary actions like blood pressure, salivation and vomiting. Is it option A, forebrain, B, medulla, C, pons or D, midbrain? Yes, you guessed it right. It's the medulla. So medulla forms the brainstem along with pons. So it lies at the base of the brain and continues into the spinal cord. So medulla controls various involuntary functions like heartbeat, salivation, vomiting, respiration, etc. So the next question. Part of brain that controls voluntary actions like walking in a straight line, riding a bicycle, holding a pencil. Is it option A, hypothalamus? Option B, cerebrum? Option C, pituitary? Option D, cerebellum? Yes, you guessed it right. It is cerebellum. So the cerebellum receives information from the sensory systems. The spinal cord and the other parts of the brain regulates the motor movements. So cerebellum controls the voluntary movements such as posture, balance, coordination and speech to maintain a smooth and balanced muscular activity. So here comes our next question. So this is the process by which plants move towards chemical substances. Is it option A, chemotropism? Option B, geotropism? Option C, hydrotropism? Option D, phototrophism? Yes, you guessed it right. These are the trophic movements we are talking about. So let me explain this first. So when a plant exhibits some growth movement in response to a stimulus, so it is referred to as tropism. So tropism is specific to the direction of the stimulus. So plants can either display a negative or positive movement in response to a stimulus. So the answer is chemotropism. The growth or movement of a plant or plant part in response to a chemical stimulus. Here an example is the growth of the pollen tube down the style during the fertilization process in response to the presence of chemicals such as sugars in the style. So here comes our next question. The growth of pollen tubes towards the ovules in plants is A. Phototrophism, B. Geotrophism. Is it C. Hydrotrophism or D. Chemotrophism? So chemotrophism is the right answer. The growth or movement of a plant or plant part in response to a chemical stimulus. So an example is the growth of the pollen tube down the style during fertilization in response to the presence of sugars, which are the chemicals in the style. So moving to the next question. The plant hormone that inhibits the growth of plant and cause wilting of leaves. Is it option A, auxin? Option B, abscisic acid? Option C, gibberellin? Or option D, cytokinin? Yes, you guessed it right. It's abscisic acid, which is responsible for the wilting and falling of leaves in plants. So all these auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid and ethylene. So these are the plant hormones, or it's also commonly called as phytohormones. Question. Iodized salt should be used in the food we eat because A. Since iodine is available for thyroxine synthesis. Option B. It is cheaper. Option C. To taste the food. Option D. Food to cook quickly. Yes, the answer is since iodine is available for thyroxine synthesis. So the thyroid hormone is secreted by the thyroid gland, which is located in front of the neck. These hormones regulate energy levels, weight, hair, nail growth and temperature of the body. So iodine is essential mineral. So it's commonly found in seafood. So your thyroid gland uses it to make thyroid hormone. Our next question. A hormone that helps to regulate blood sugar level in a body. Is it thyroxine or adrenaline or insulin or testosterone? Yes, you guessed it right. It's insulin. So pancreas secrete insulin hormone that help regulate the body's glucose level. So here comes our next question. So the gland that leads to a person's gigantism and dwarfism. Is it A, adrenal gland? Is it B, the pituitary gland? Is it C, the pancreas? Is it D, the thyroid? Yes, you guessed it right. It's the pituitary gland. So it is a pea-sized endocrine gland situated at the base of our brain. So it is often referred to as the master gland because it produces some of the most important hormones in the body. It plays an essential role in regulating the functions of various other endocrine glands and maintaining overall hormone levels in the blood. So hyposecretion of the growth hormone during the childhood leads to the pituitary dwarfism. So the maximum height of a person could be of 4 feet. The hypersecretion of the growth hormone during the childhood leads to gigantism. So the person could be 8 to 9 feet tall. So our next question. Plant hormone is one of the following. So we have to identify that. Is it thyroxine? Is it insulin? Is it cytokinin or is it estrogen? Yes, you guessed it right. It is the cytokinin. So all these auxins, gibberellins, cytokinin, abscisic acid and ethylene are the plant hormones which are commonly also called as the phytohormones. So our next question. The gap between two neurons is called A. Axon, B. Dendrite, C. Impulse or D. Synapse. Yes, you guessed it right. It's the synapse. So synapse is the gap between the nerve ending of one neuron and dendrites of another neuron. So here's our next question. So growth independent movement among them is So the options are the stem growing towards the light. When we touch the leaves of a chewy mui, they begin to fold up and droop. Is it the option C, roots grown into the soil, or option D, the tendrils grown by circle around the object? So first we have to understand, so the movement in plants. So in control and coordination in plants. So there are two kinds of movements. So these are, some of them are the directional movements in response to stimulus, which are called as the trophic movements. So the different types of trophic movements are phototrophism, geotrophism, chemotrophism and hydrotrophism, and also the thigmotrophism. So these are the directional movements depending on the response to the stimulus. So the other kind is the non-directional movement. So these movements are independent of growth. These are called as the nastic movements. So it's an immediate response to the stimulus. So for an example, so drooping off of leaves of the touch-me-not plant on touching it. So the mimosa pudica plant, touch-me-not plant, so when you touch it, so it folds up its leaves and it droops down for a short period of time. So these are the nastic movements. So the option B is the right answer for this. When we touch the leaves of chewy mui, they begin to fold up and droop down. So here comes our next question. The organ of the body susceptible to goiter is it A, brain, B, pancreas, C, thyroid, D, adrenal? Yes, you guessed it right. The goiter is an abnormal enlargement of the thyroid gland visible as a swelling in the neck region. So it is caused due to the deficiency in dietary iodine or abnormalities in the level of thyroid hormone. Here comes our last question. Usually this hormone is not seen in children under the age of 10 years. Is it A, thyroxine? Is it B, testosterone or estrogen? Is it C, adrenaline? Is it D, insulin? Yes, it's the testosterone and estrogen. So let me explain this. So puberty leads to many changes in the body, both in boys and girls. So development of secondary sexual characteristics is one of the major changes that occur during adolescence. So adolescence here means 11 to 19 years of age. Sex hormones play key role in the production and sexual development. These are mainly produced by the gonads. So testis releases testosterone hormone in males and produces sperms, which are the gametes. And ovaries releases estrogen in females, produces the ova, that is the eggs, which are the female gametes. I hope this was very informative for you all. All the best, students. Please do subscribe to our channel and do like. Thank you.